Thank you for staying tuned. The world news at 12 begins with U.S. President Donald Trump holding a press conference and doubling down on his threat to invade Nigeria over an alleged Christian genocide. In a press conference on Wednesday, Trump stated that his government will not sit back and watch what he described as the continuous killing of Christians in Nigeria and in the world. In his words, Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. He noted that the United States cannot continue to stand by while such atrocities are happening there and in numerous other countries. Let's take a listen to U.S. President Donald Trump speaking in a press conference just yesterday.
He is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
That was U.S. President Donald Trump doubling down on his threat to invade Nigeria over an alleged Christian genocide. Now, a new bill introduced in the U.S. Congress has proposed targeted sanctions and other restrictive measures against individuals and groups accused of serious violations of religious freedom in Nigeria. The legislation specifically named the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, and the Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore as entities implicated in such abuses. The bill, introduced by Smith Christopher, member of the House of Representatives, proposed sanctions on members of the groups, including visa restrictions and asset freezes. Presented the bill on Tuesday while commending U.S. President Donald Trump for redesignating Nigeria a country of particular concern. In the bill, Christopher noted that the U.S. has also placed the Fulani ethnic militias operating in Benue and Plateau State on its entities of particular concern EPC list under the International Religious Freedom Act. The entities of particular concerns are non-state actors that have committed especially severe violations of religious freedom under the U.S. law. Christopher's bill also suggested that the U.S. should provide immediate humanitarian assistance directly to faith-based groups to support internally displaced people in Nigeria's Middle Belt states. Still on the world news at 12, right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. The Kwara State Police Command has arrested 4 suspects in connection with the killing of the chief imam of Sokunkman village in Saragi, Edu local government area of the state. The command spokesperson, SP Adeton Ejire Adeyemi, disclosed this to journalists in a statement today, saying the incident occurred on November 4, 2025 at about 9:30 p.m. According to the statement, the crisis erupted after the death of a 25-year-old man who had been on admission at a hospital in the area. Following his demise, his brothers allegedly accused the village chief's imam of being responsible for his death. Ejire Adeyemi said police operatives responded swiftly, leading to the arrest of 4 suspects, while efforts were ongoing to apprehend others involved in the attack. The State Commissioner of Police, CP Adekimi Ojo, condemned the act of jungle justice and warned residents against taking the law into their own hands, describing such behavior as criminal and punishable under Nigerian law. Ojo assured residents of Kwara State that the police remains committed to ensuring peace, safety, and order across all communities, particularly in Edu local government area where the incident occurred. Meanwhile, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has agreed to meet with his lawyers before continuing his defense in the terrorism case brought against him by the federal government. The decision came on Wednesday during his appearance at the Federal High Court in Abuja before Justice James Omotosho. Now, the judge had advised Kanu to seek proper legal guidance after he again claimed that the charges against him were not valid under the Nigerian law. Nnamdi Kanu, who had previously refused to proceed with his defense, later told the court he would consult with his legal advisors. He named his team as Nemeka Ejiofor, Aloy Ejimako, Maxwell Okpara, and Mandela Umegborogo. Justice Omotosho granted an adjournment till November 7, 2025, giving Kanu more time to prepare. This will be the fourth time the court has postponed proceedings to allow him to either open his defense or to formally decline. The judge stressed the importance of a fair trial and said the court would bend backward once more in the interest of justice. In October, Kanu had dismissed his former legal team led by ex-Attorney General of Federation Kanu Agabi, a senior advocate of Nigeria. He had also said he would defend himself and listed 23 people he planned to call as witnesses, including the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. However, the IPOB leader later changed his mind, saying there was no need to defend himself since the charges against him are unknown to any valid law. Meanwhile, filling stations have reduced the price of premium motor spirit and the landing cost of petrol dropped further below Dangote Refinery's ex-depot price. VOP News gathered on Wednesday that some filling stations across locations in Abuja have reduced their fuel pump price to 940 naira per litre, down from between 950 naira and 955 naira. This means that the filling stations in Abuja reduced their petrol pump price between 4 naira and 10 naira per litre. NNPCL retail outlets in Abuja had earlier adjusted their pump price downwards to 945 naira per litre, up from 955 naira per litre. I'm now being joined by Mr. Awa Omiko of the Sunday editorial desk for the news analysis segment right here on the World News at 12. Good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, Chema. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. It's always a pleasure whenever we get to talk to you. Let's begin with U.S. President Donald Trump holding a press conference yesterday and doubling down on his threat to Nigeria. He's saying he wants to come and weed out the terrorist elements that have been disturbing the country and the people who he said have been involved in Christian genocide right here in Nigeria. There are also reports that the United States military has drawn up contingency plans for potential airstrikes in Nigeria following an order from President Trump. He's reportedly directed the Pentagon to prepare to intervene to protect Christians from terrorist attacks. This is according to the New York Times.
Going by international law as agreed upon, I would say President Trump has a working on theory of that particular territory of culpability. He's got that. He's got the power to actually do that. He's got the ability to do that, owing to the fact that there is threats to human life, killing, and government not minding or not feed or known or have the record of taking proactive actions and being able to prevent them, especially where the killing is in mass and targeted at certain group of people. But despite that, it can still be settled, out because Nigeria, with our diplomatic expression and ability, we can stop him from doing that. Owing to the fact that the same theory that has empowered him, enabled him to do that by the UN, and which we are a party to, says we still have the power to actually stop that if you have the ability to put things in order. So before, and we still have to go through the same UN to carry out every attack in any way he has to. So owing to that, and if Nigeria can stand up to its responsibilities, and Nigeria can stop that from taking place, because the attack, though mostly Christians, it's not in general, because in the process traditional believers have been killed, even non-Muslims, non-radical Muslims too have been killed, and churches and monks have been destroyed. So with our diplomacy and diplomatic ability, we can actually put a stop to that. But before doing that, and before the UN can step in and to say, look, Mr. Trump, with your compatibility theory and whatever thing you have, put a stop to this for now. These people have started work, and they must serious to have started work, and they must serious to have started to have stopped that killing, and they must serious to have taken proactive actions towards that, and that is how that can be stopped. So it can be checked through diplomatic dialogue, because in every situation, Georgia is always better than war.
You want the U.S. government to dialogue with the Nigerian government on how to go about this instead of continued threat of invasion. But some Nigerians are saying, when we do not disarm terrorists and end killings, when we do not push back on those who are terrorist apologists, people who speak for them, who negotiate for them, who advocate for a better life for them, when we do not actually use approaches that show Nigerians that indeed we are working to give them a better life, how can the international community not look at Nigeria, look at Nigerians, and think that we are condoning insecurity?
And you have always been saying this, that government should be blamed. In fact, I've always been saying it. Because just US go beyond coming, and it goes beyond pushing those people backwards. If you look at the records and the history of events, you will discover that these things called Boko Haram or terrorists or banditry, before you may call them or you may put it, there are three different categories of people. Seems to be sponsored by internal by groups within the system. You could even remember Mr. President, former President Olusegun Obasanjo being calling out at the time that the country is Islamized, is gradually to be Islamized, and every other thing is taking process that he doesn't even know what to do. And President Jonathan, if you could recall, equally made similar statements. And even if you look at our constitution, going by the 1999 constitution, this topic has to go back. It has to do with engineering of our security architecture. If you look at even those people attacking us, you will discover, this Boko Haram and the so-called Islamist group, you will discover that the constitution even empowered them. Look at the 1999 constitution, creating two laws within the same country by the Southerners, governed by criminal laws, by criminal panel. While the other one is governed by Islamic Sharia law. Just states in the country. So how can you do that? So we need to sit down, the engineer our security architecture, and we need to sit down and even look at into our constitution. Nigeria, are we really a secular state? If we are really a secular state, all these things that have empowered Islam in the constitution should be removed. That is one way we should start for. And again, our budgeting. Look at the way, once upon a time in this country, Nigeria invited the US to help us check this criminality, because we are criminal elements as far as I'm concerned, and this killing. And it got to a stage that the military, that the experts that came from the US the U.S. security operatives said that even the Boko Haram are even in the military. And you look at all the spending that has been done for the past 20 years and how this same arm they supply will go back to the Boko Haram. And look at the budgeting for Christ's sake. And you look at everything has been done. So it has seen that those sponsoring this insecurity lives within the states and they are much more the political class. Now, when the time the government said they will give their names, they will mention their names. But why did they not mention those names? And I think some people have been fronted to have, they've been fronted to have been key participants of these people. And yet nothing is done. We had just of listeners, we had a situation where they said that one of the Boko Haram people, the daughter or the son wedded. And the government official went there to even congratulate him. Would that be done? Does that show that we are serious? No! We keep on telling one and bringing to that negotiate. Why would you negotiate with these people? Are they a state of their own? So we are creating what is known as a parallel state. And that is why the US serious as well being serious. But the side effect of this thing is that they're going to put an end to is going to put hardship within the country, which all of us are even saying. You see, in some places, people don't move openly, they don't move freely in the streets because of insecurity. People don't go to farm because of the insecurity. And you look at the policies the government is doing. Instead of sending those in the IDP back to their traditional homes, you are now building more, you are now extending the IDPs and creating boreholes for them, which means you have indirectly asked them to leave their traditional homes. And this is not it. And yet, when Boko Haram will claim these villages, they will rename them and even occupy it. And the government seems not to do anything to push them back. So, when you put all this in totality, give the impression that Nigeria is not serious to check or push back these invaders. And that is why US seems to be doing what it did. And that is why other countries, I like even UK, are even giving them the backing. France are giving them backing. And other countries in Europe are giving them the backing. To even go ahead and check it. But if Nigeria can stand up to can take its new place, say now we are ready to do the needful. If only you should give us the backing, we are now ready to do the needful. This is not a thing. This is not a one-day war. In fact, it's not a one-day war, and Tinubu should be able to stand on his ground and say yes, we are now ready to defend our sovereignty.
All right, Mr. Awa Omiko, the U.S. has targeted visa ban and asset freeze for some people over these same Christian persecution claims, notably anyone who identifies as a member of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria and the Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore. And then also they went ahead to place the Fulani ethnic people they called Fulani ethnic militias, designating them as entities of particular concern under the U.S. International Religious Freedom Act. One would say that due to the activities of a few Moravian terrorists, that a whole ethnic group is being designated as their supporters or as terrorists. Is this actually fair? Because we know that when it comes to certain issues, it's like when it comes to IPOB, we always say, oh, not every Igbo person is an IPOB member. Not every Igbo person actually identifies with IPOB. So is it fair to designate a whole ethnic group as entities of particular concern because of the activities of a few terrorists?
It is not, and I know the international law does not allow that, and I know US in its meticulous way of doing things will not do that. They will never a blanket treatment just like that. But in a place where all of them claim to be a member, there is no otherwise in that situation, because you could see Mr. President, that was a immediate past president, Buhari, claiming to be the patron of that Botiala, and we're really nothing is done, or nothing was done to that. I and you could even see the parade daily with lethal weapons. Nothing was done to that. And that is why, if I want to look at us, we look at us as a nation that is not serious. You can see even by our utterances, by by the type of videos we present in TikTok, in social media, and every other thing. And if you look at what US seems to be saying, or what US itself is saying, remember that was the time here in this same country, that they came to pick one of those kidnapped, and they went to you. And if the later came back to tell us that our security borders is so porous, and we are living with places. And you can equally see what is happening in the north there, where the churches in the villages, like Sokoto State now, their churches in the villages there have been all wiped out, priests killed, people lives lost. Where you can only see Christians or people are just in the cities and in their capital cities, not in their rural area. But is that the type of place we should operate? No. So when they give them a blanket statement that yes, we started sanction that is the beginning of that work. Because it has to come in a subtle way first by allowing sanctions to take place. Then the next level they now move, if you are not taking any proactive action, you should do what economic blockage. And if you are not taking proactive action again, you should make sure that there's a diplomatic cut off. And by so doing, if all the sanctions have been played out and nothing happens, they come into evasion. It will now lead to evasion. And when there's an evasion, there's every tendency that Mr. President himself might be removed, and they will now put whoever they feel
but it actually all go well for Nigerians. I mean, this is international interference in the affairs of a sovereign nation.
Like when it comes to international affairs, there is theory of culpability. I told you that. And theory of culpability says in any state where there is anarchy, where there is killing of life, where things seem not to be going well, that the stronger state has the power to interfere, and that stronger state that has the ability to do that must take the permission of the UN. And that is what is happening. That is why you see United States will leave its own enclave and come to Middle East and cement Wahala. And that is why you could see the USSR will use its own state and come to Benin and put military arcade there. That is why you see. So international relations is a ball game. Where when you want to see peace, once you see peace once you see war or anything happening anywhere, if you have the ability, you intervene. Why did Nigeria not organize ECOMOG and even went to Liberia and Sierra Leone to fight? Is it not international law? Was there no international law? It was because there was killing, there was loss of lives, and that is what US is trying to do. Even if you cannot live by yourself, we are going to do it for you, especially when life is being lost. And when there is an annihilation gradually, it's a systematic thing taking place in Nigeria. There's an annihilation taking place. Certain people don't want certain people to live in the country, and that is why they say they can never allow this. And especially when these people don't want to live in the country, a group of people, Christians, and I wouldn't want to believe that they are Christians alone. They are Christians, and once you are gradually killing them, the international group will tell you, no, we can't allow this because we all belong to one world. So in international relations, ability to interfere in other people's country, in other countries, does not give recognition to sovereignty. In fact, your sovereignty is a freedom on the paper. Sovereignty is a freedom on the paper and has ability to be attacked by a stronger country.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's quickly look at Nnamdi Kanu finally agreeing to meet his legal team as his terrorism trial actually continues. He has finally says he will continue his defense in the case that was brought against him by the federal government. He made the decision yesterday. The judge has been asking him. The judge is literally pleaded with him, saying, "Please, you need to seek proper legal guidance." Kanu kept claiming that the charges against him were not valid under the Nigerian law. You know, he sacked his lawyers. He opted to defend himself, and then he said he had nothing to say because the charges against him were not valid. And the court has been saying, look, you need to enter a defense so that we can proceed. Now he's finally agreed to meet his legal team, but not the other people he had before. Of course, he has Basta Loy Ejimako, he has Maxwell Okpara, he has Mandela Umegborogo, and Nemeka Ejiofor. What do you make of all of this?
Well, Kanu has the right to change his legal team if he feels they're not representing him very well. He has every right under the constitution, either the national constitution and international law. But what is there is that Kanu is not helping matters. It's not helping matters at all. Because if you look by his utterances, by his body language, and by his expressions even in print, and even before the lawyers, shows that he's not helping matters at all. If he really want to make us believe that he's serious about his freedom and he's serious about all the accusations leveled against him, he should be able to face to allow presentation to go on. And it is only when that is seen to have been done that you can be seen that justice is done. The justice may be slow, it will surely come. Even if they wrongly accuse him, but the international system is there to watch and to see what is going on and know how to handle it. And if in his case, if he's giving a kangaroo court ruling, the world is still there. And you can see we've had cases where a kangaroo system was implemented and the culprit was jailed and killed. We knew what the world did. At least when such happened in Nigeria, we knew what the world did, and we knew what we lost by virtue of that. So he shouldn't be afraid. He had made himself a sacrificial lamb.
He made himself
let him die
by sacking his lawyers.
Even if he's to die, but since he has come out to make himself a sacrificial lamb to say that I am going to make a stand for IPOB, he should be able to face anything that comes by it. He believes that those lawyers weren't good enough. They weren't defending him enough.
Yeah.
That was why he changed.
Mr. Awaomiko, you're saying maybe he thought his lawyers were not good enough. But yesterday, Omoyele Sowore was here. And a few weeks ago, I spoke to that Showore's lawyer, Marshal Abubakar. And he told me categorically, and Sowore repeated the same thing yesterday, that the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court in Abuja petitioned Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, saying that they are why are they defending someone who's accused of terrorism, and why they keep filing preliminary charges. And that's the reason why he had to sack his lawyers in order to save their head. So Red literally said that his lawyers are being persecuted.
Do you now see why I use the word sacrificial lamb? That is why I use that word sacrificial lamb. That even if the word, and that is the reason I use the word kangaroo court. Kangaroo court simply means an illegality and a formation of a group of not properly constituted. That is, they have been targeted to eliminate the subject while the subject is there. So all these things are things the international community seems to know. If you accuse him of terrorism, lay your facts. At least lay your facts and let it be known to the world. He has by virtue of this case become citizen of the globe, and he has by virtue of this case put Nigeria in the synopsis of the world. So what are you going to say? If the judges decide to sting themselves by not being legally correct, the word is there, and mind you, the legal books are there to give reference of what is going to happen. So we should be bold enough to come out, run and stand and make his own and give his own audience. Let the law hear him out, and let the lawyer be pleading on his case. And I believe if justice must be done, God, Nigeria should use this privilege to correct their image, to make sure that they don't dent themselves. Already Kenya has already stood against Nigeria and even sued Nigeria for a breach of the law. So government should use Nnamdi Kanu's case as a bridge, as a means to launder his image before the international community.
All right, then.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the whole conversation of Nigeria being designated as a country of particular concern. There is a new bill currently moving through the United States Congress, which has placed Nigeria under intense international scrutiny. The far-reaching sanctions are proposed for Nigerian political office holders, judges, and even security officials who are accused of enabling religious persecution. They are really harping on this religious persecution, but some Nigerians are saying that this may be the end game might be the 2027 elections. Maybe these people are not happy about the Muslim ticket. We remember former President Goodluck Jonathan coming out earlier in the week. I think it was on Monday. He released a book on Tuesday where he said that Obama interfered in the 2015 elections and what's the reason why he was not re-elected. Are we about to see the same thing play out in 2027?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that most people are happy on religion to carry out their criminal activities. Now let's look at the Muslim ticket. Well, there's nothing bad in it. Muslim ticket, it does not matter if you're Muslim or Christian, so far you're able to develop the country. China, the people say they don't believe in religion, but they have their own religion too, and which they believe and worship. So they don't even look at that. They don't put that into consideration. Britain, UK, they don't put all that into consideration. What they look at is an institution. If our institutions have been well constituted and given the right empowerment, we don't have to be talking about Muslim ticket or Muslim Christian ticket or Christian ticket. That wouldn't be it. But because we have the motive of propagating Islam, just as Uthman Dan Fodio in his day said that if people will throw Quran into the sea, and if you can see the permutation and how the things is equally happening, that seems to be what is carrying out. So they want to use means of government as a means, as a vehicle to fulfill that, and that is why Nigeria seems to be afraid of Muslim ticket. But what we should even be thinking of is creating a very strong and enabling judiciary. One, the INEC must be independent. The judiciary must be independent. The EFCC must be independent. These are institutions and other institutions that are there that should be able to check government and governance. If there are no institutions to check government and governance, we still be carrying over these care matters of a Muslim ticket. Right. Now, maybe one day, if one alpha or if one a traditional believer comes in and says, look, I want to declare my Dudu to be part of the state religion, what will we do? We will not be saying we don't want Muslim traditional religion or Christian traditional religion. So we should equally know what we are fighting for. And mind you, the country, the head of state, the person you have chosen to lead you is not different from the people. If you give all of us the same opportunity, that is what is going to play out too. Right. And US is watching us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Awa Omiko, for joining me on the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I do appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories. Again, you heard that President Trump has held a press conference and doubled down on his threat to Nigeria. U.S. targets visa ban and asset freeze from Yeti Allah over Christian persecution claims. Police arrest 4 over killing of Kwara community chief imam, and Nnamdi Kanu finally agrees to meet legal team ahead of terrorism trial. And that's a wrap on the World News at 12. 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.
From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People